Welcome back to the SnackWalls podcast. I'm Mike Roberts, your host, and we're here to talk about increasing and maintaining diversity in tech beyond the perks. While companies think they can lure people in with unlimited PTO and dogs in the office, we're here to talk about how you keep them. All right, I'm going to throw it over to our special guest today. In a few sentences, can you tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on the podcast today. So in a nutshell, my name is Michelle Barnard. I am a senior recruiter for a staffing agency right now. I've been there for about almost 3 years now. So I have 10 years in the HR industry and have a degree back in HR as well. Right now, I'm actually doing 2 side hustles as well because we have an increasingly number of unemployed people out there. So I'm trying to help that gap in between to get the training that they need. So I have a couple side hustles going on too.
All right, so we'll definitely have you talk a little bit about that and towards the end. So let's just kick things off. So I'm hearing from some leaders in tech that finding diverse talent is a challenge. What are your thoughts?
Well, seeing that I'm in the industry and I've seen it change dramatically, and rapidly, I have noticed that a lot of the talent that we need that is diverse is outside of our country. A lot of times our school system just doesn't have the supply to match the demand of the tech jobs that we have here in the United States. So a lot of times I get a lot of people on LinkedIn who kind of reach out to me and they look for corp to corp or sponsorship opportunities, but a lot of companies aren't willing to pay. It's going to be expensive, but I think it is the necessary step to start to diversify the backgrounds as far as degrees and people, visible and invisible, as far as diversity. So yeah, they have a lot of expenses probably in the near future if they really want to bring in diverse people, but it can happen.
Yeah, and I've had other folks kind of talk about that, like supply and demand side, and say, look, if that's really the case, if there is this need and they genuinely want to fill that gap, then it just means you have to pay a higher price. There's a premium. And so you should be paying more for women, more for Black, more for Latinx, more for neurodiverse developers. And that might mean some kind of investment that needs to be made in order to fix those numbers. So to your point, if you're looking at it purely from an economic standpoint, it may get more expensive if they want to reach those goals. So 100% believer in that message.
Yeah, so what do you think about this topic?
So what do you think about the push to remove some of the barriers, like requirements for CS degrees for software engineering roles? Because you kind of touched on that with the supply of folks with CS degrees.
So yeah, that's another great question too. I don't think that it's necessarily should be a requirement that a computer science degree be mandatory for an engineering degree. A lot of times people, go to college and they switch degrees 3-4 times, like we all have done. So it doesn't make really a lot of sense to try to pigeonhole or stopgate people that could be potentially really good fit for that role. They're missing out on a lot of great talent if they, have that degree requirement as a must-have. So I would suggest not having that as a requirement, maybe a nice to have perhaps, but pay somebody extra for that degree so it's more desirable for them to apply. But I've seen so many different things that companies could do better, but I can only say so much. So many people at one time. So
yeah, absolutely. So do you think an apprenticeship pattern would work for some tech roles?
I actually think that would actually help the supply problem here that we have in the United States. If we had, people that would assist with more hands-on training with a lot of the youth that's coming up in this next generation, they have a short attention span, let's be honest. And they need the hand-holding that they probably didn't have, growing up in school, or now that they're doing their schooling from home, like it's just different. So apprenticeship, you have to try something different to see what kind of different results you get. And I do agree that apprenticeship might be a good route for internally in the United States.
Yeah, I think it's working elsewhere. And that's the part that frustrates me to no end, is like, you look at Europe and you look at the way that they treat it as a first class career path, instead of here in the United States where we think about vocational career paths as sort of like second class, that everybody's sort of like entitled or should be desiring to go to college and get a 4-year degree. And, I agree. I think that's not attainable for some folks. And so you're setting an unrealistic barrier for the very people that you're trying to provide opportunities for. So that said, we talked about the acquisition part, and I'm sure another part of what you do is you help people that are trying to they bounce out of this place because this place is terrible. So how do you keep people? How do you retain talent? How do they put you out of the replacing people business and instead keep them inside of the organization?
Well, so to your question, I believe that the one thing they can do to try to retain diverse groups of people is to treat them equally. This year has been kind of like a spotlight being shined on diversity as if we weren't here already. And, that's just my strong opinion behind that, because the way some of the situations I've been in recently, and then the groups that have emerged within organizations that, and then the conversations that I'm having with clients asking for specific, diverse candidates, these conversations are just interesting and awkward at the same time, because I feel like we've always been, looking for diverse people to fill roles. And it's never been something that we had to shine a light on, that it was something that we need to work on.
Yeah. I mean, I've been working in shops for a really long time, and I've looked around with my 2 eyes and seen this place looks very one way. It doesn't look like, it's not representative of the customer base, is the most polite way of saying. All I see are predominantly white, male, cisgender dudes as I survey my coworkers. And that doesn't feel cool. You don't feel like you belong when you don't look the same as anyone else you're working with. And then when
you shine a light on it, it's kind of like, okay, well, now I can see what you see.
Yeah, absolutely. So who is someone like yourself that you would like to sort of give a shout out or acknowledge as a leader and think might be a good guest to be on a podcast like this?
Well, I actually had a hard time choosing. I have a lot of great friends that have become leaders. I like that. I have some memories of some times with 2, particular women in my life that are still in my life that are super supportive of my, own personal endeavors. And, we used to sit by the Bean or in Millennial Park and dream about what our futures would look like, poor, broken, struggling. And now to see her for her fruition and her come to fruition and start her own company, put out job postings made by me, myself, for her to find employment, to find employees to work for her. So I'm really proud of Casper. And then Lauren as well. She works at a video game company, and she also has risen to the occasion, gone from an intern working at a diner, I think it was, and scrapping for change. But now they both have risen to the occasion, are both very much leaders in their industries.
Nice. All right. So I'm going to put them on the radar and see if we can get them on the program and talk about their journey and their experience and how, how they could basically be a model for what it takes to, be successful. So I like it. I like it a lot. Where can we find out more information about your company? Maybe you could plug something like a side hustle or something. So go ahead, give us the info. We'll put it all in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah. So I actually have my own site. It's MB Job Seeker Advice. It's a website dedicated to, a lot of people that have been displaced, looking for jobs, looking to get their resume rewritten, looking for interview tips or career advice. If you want to switch careers, I have advice on that type of thing as well. So the website address is my first, middle, and last name.com. So it's www.michelle.teniabarnard.com. And then also I do a little bit of tarot on the side as well. So I also have a website on that. It's mbempresstarot.com. So if you're interested in a reading, that'd be awesome too. Nice. And then I also have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube channel. So I can put that all in the comments.
So so we can put that all in the show notes. And I'm amazed. Are you saying that you can do this whole reading thing? You can do it via Zoom? This is.
Yeah, I did a live one this past Sunday for storytellers and their Halloween edition. I did a live one. It was spot on. The girl was
Nice.
hesitant. She was concerned going into it, but it was a really good positive reading, and it was well received by her. And then after, a while, I got a request from one of the guys listening or watching the live show. So it was really exciting to see that.
All right. I don't know if I'm down with that, but
maybe you should try it. Really
good career. But no, I don't know that I want to know the future. I kind of enjoy like the surprise of things coming at me and not knowing what the plan is.
I can't tell the future.
But I thought
it's
that was
not about telling the future at all.
Oh, now I'm confused. But so what is the goal then? If I like what is the value add or the opportunity for me?
The value.
Please don't do one right now without telling you.
No, I'm not going to do it right now, I promise. But the value added is that you get to see your current situation in a different perspective. It's also about healing your, having a conversation, because this started back in Italy and France where they were just playing with these cards. It just started conversations, and that's kind of how I use them.
All right. Well, I'll marinate on that then. All right. Back to the show. I guess for a second. So, question for you, last and most important question, and that is, what are you snacking on lately? What's your favorite snack?
Jalapeno chips. I can only eat those, and that is it. And they have to be the Kettle Crunch. It cannot be any other brand.
Those are pretty good. I mean, I do like the Kettle Crunch ones, and those are the flavor that I would go for. I'm not a big, like salt and sea salt and all that kind of stuff. It's got to be the spicy ones for me. So that is a phenomenal snack. And I grew up I'm from the East Coast, so I grew up on Cape Cod potato chips, and the jalapeno one's even better than Cape Cod. Sorry,
absolutely.
Sorry, Cape Cod.
Sorry, Cape Cod.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Michelle. I really appreciate you coming on the program.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
The San Diego Code School is a proud sponsor of the SnackWalls podcast. The San Diego Code School is leading companies to tech equity. The tech-enabled apprenticeship program is a venture whose heart is to do a lot of social good and do good work. You can help San Diego Code School secure funding for change by hiring developers, bringing a team in to relieve your backlog, or becoming a program sponsor. You can visit us on the web for more information at http://stcs.io.